Hey everyone, how's it going? I just uploaded this video talking about the synchronicity with the TV show Family Guy that I've recently been having again, and it was connected to my son, the birth of my son, and a bunch of bridge symbolism. And in this video, I also talked about synchronicity that I had with the band Drowning Pool, and I also mentioned a bunch of other stuff about my family members and the number 624. I talked about how my dad was also synced up to the birth of my son and whatnot. I didn't talk about everything that I have previously documented, but, you know, my son is synced up to bridge symbolism, born on January 17th, and in gematria, which is the practice of coding numbers into words and phrases. The word bridge equals 117, and many other things in regards to my son and bridge symbolism. But my if you go back and watch some of my old videos, I talked about bridge symbolism for months before the Super Bowl, how the Super Bowl was played in Minneapolis and it was synced up to bridge symbolism. And such as the Minneapolis bridge collapse that happened on 8/1 of in 2007, August 1st, and it fell 81 feet, and the main trusses were 81 meters long, and it took them 81 minutes to transport everyone to the hospital. And this year, it is the 81st anniversary of the Golden Gate Bridge being opened on May 27th, it was. And Golden Gate Bridge in gematria, the frontwards way and the reverse way equals 81, and it's synced up to Pope Francis. The word pontiff means bridge builder. The word pope in Hebrew lettering, that equals 81 in gematria. Pope Francis turned 81 years old this year, 81 days after the Jesuit anniversary, and he's supposedly the first Jesuit pope. Much more with the number 81. Even 8 months and 1 day after Pope Francis's 81st birthday is August 18th of the year 18. 8/1, 8/1, 8, just think about it. 8/1, 8/1, 1/8, or whatever. A lot of 81 stuff. And, so if you're new to this channel, check out the previous video and also check out the How to Gematria video in the link in the description. And hopefully you'll learn to apply what I'm talking about. But what I'm talking about is a lot more advanced. So if you don't understand how to apply it, you're going to be completely clueless as to what I am talking about. But anyway, so as this video was uploading and the moral of the story, I had some other synchronicity going on here. This guy who is not a troll, he's a regular commenter and whatnot. He leaves me a lot of good messages and whatnot. And anyway, he was just talking about how he was looking into the Bilderberg group, and when he did the match ciphers, one of the things that came up was Dennis Michael Barrett. And then he said, I don't know if he's your kin or whatever. And, you know, it's not, I mean, it is pretty odd that that name would come up out of all of the things that could equal 192 and 102. It's interesting that my father's name would come up on the Gematria Data, and of all other things that it could be. But that was my father's name. And in the video that I just previously uploaded, I talked about how my son's full name equals 192. My dad's full name equals 192. Also, my mom, just her name, without her middle name, it equals 192. And my son was really synced up, his birth was synced up to the Jesuits. His name in uh, reverse equals 321, and he was born 3 months, 21 days after the Jesuit anniversary. And his name the small way equals 84. The word Jesuit equals 84. And he was born 84 days before my dad's birthday. And my dad's name in satanic gematria equals 927, like the Jesuit anniversary. And my dad's not a Jesuit, a Freemason, nothing of the sort. He just works at a packing plant. He can't even work there right now because he's got like 2 blown shoulders, and he might have to go on disability because they might be firing him or whatever, how the workman comp thing goes. But, you know, So it's just interesting as I'm uploading this video, and a big piece that I was talking about was my dad and his birthday being. See, a lot of what I was talking about in that video was the Cubs and the Indians, and it's the 114th World Series, and my dad, his birthday's on April 11th, which in most parts of the world they write the date as 11/4, and it's the 114th World Series. My dad's full name in reverse reduced equals 114. And I never noticed until after reading this message that my dad's birthday to November 4th, which is also 11/4, it's 6 months and 24 days. And that was a big thing I was talking about in that last video because that's like the main number that I keep seeing over and over. I have a whole video on the number 624 and how it's connected to Pope Francis and King Charles or Prince Charles, who would become King Charles, and bridge symbolism. All this bridge symbolism. All of my family members have recently died in connection to all of this. Like my grandma died 6 months and 24 days before my uncle, who just recently died on April 17th. And he died 6 months and 24 days before my birthday. And my son's birthday is 6 months and 24 days after 6/24. And the Rocky Colavito stuff, the curse of Rocky Colavito with the Indians. Rocky Colavito equals 624. They were cursed by the Detroit Tigers. Detroit Tigers equal 624. Or, he got traded there. And they were the team that also cursed the Cubs and also the team that the Cubs had beat in 1908. Also, Aroldis Chapman equals 624. And he was interrelated into all of that and the Cubs winning in 2016. And also this year, the Indians played the Detroit Tigers on June 24th, 6/24. And a big deal is that Rocky Colavito was born on 8/10, August 10th, or also 10/8. And the Cubs worked the 108-year curse and much, much more. Just see the previous video. But this number 810 was really important. And if you go from my son's birthday to August 10th, it's 6 months and 24 days. It's just this big number. It's this really important number in regards to all of this stuff that's going on. So now I'm seeing my dad's birthday is 11/4 and then 6 months, 24 days before November 4th, which can also be 11/4. And the word father equals 624 in Gematria. Also, the guy who left the comment, Reagan Bowen, just so happens to equal 624 in Gematria. So another interesting theme that I was talking about in that last video was the band Drowning Pool and how I randomly just out of nowhere haven't listened to this band in probably 10 to 15 years, like it's been a really long time since I listened to the band Drowning Pool, and something sparked my brain at work on 7/2 and Drowning Pool equals 72 and much, much more, but I knew there was something significant about it that day. For some reason I couldn't get it out of my head. I couldn't, so I had to listen to the album, and I did. I listened to it at work, but I took a screenshot of it on my phone because I knew there was something important to it. And then we got the death of, I've been covering a lot of the XXX Tentacion's death, and then we got the death of his niece drowning in a pool, and then we got the death of the hockey player Ray Emery drowning in the pool. And then I'm like, interesting. And then Chigozie Truth just made a video about the band Drowning Pool, and he seemingly had no idea that I've even documented about this, and he was just doing it because somebody else had asked him about it. And his name just so happens to equal 624 in Gematria. And Jeff Young, who he was talking about, had wanted him to look into it. His birthday, 6 months and 24 days before the World Series begins this year, And also 6 months and 24 days before the World Series begins this year, the Chicago Cubs had that big tribute game to the Stoneman Douglas shooting, the one that went 17 innings, and it was won by Miguel Rojas's home run, who was hit that home run 1 month and 7 days after his birthday. And number 17, Chris Bryant, hit the home run to make the score not tied. And, the 17 seconds of silence and the, whatever it was, when they're, can't even remember, a 17-year-old student threw the first pitch. And then it went 17 innings. And think about it, the 17 victims and the 17 people injured and the kids leaving school for 17 minutes. And Joaquin Oliver, the one of the 17-year-old kid who died, and then they buried him on the 17th of February in a Dwayne Wade jersey, and Dwayne Wade born on the 17th day of the year. My son born on the 17th day of the year. XXX Tentacion has that album called 17 that he released 173 days after his birth, after just 173 days before the Valentine's Day massacre. And he had the tribute song to the Stoneman Douglas, but his name equals 173, which is the 40th prime, and the word Valentine's equals 40, so there's something really important to 17. Even Marjorie Stoneman Douglas died 1 month, 7 days after her birthday, and she died on 14/5, which is a date that's synced up to the Indians and also the Cubs. Chicago, Illinois equals 145. And the last time the Indians won the World Series was in the year 48. And that was after 145 days after 14/5 was when the World Series began. And that was the day that Israel declared its independence, 14/5, and the year 48. And, just much, much more. It's synced up to World War, and Israel created out of World War. And it's the 114th World Series, and World War equals 114. Anyway, what sticks out about drowning pool, it's kind of oxymoronic because my dad cannot swim. My dad has never learned how to swim. I honestly don't know. I think the only people that I don't know how to swim are him and like a few of his brothers and sisters. He had 10 brothers and sisters. One of them actually died on the 4th of July when he was a little kid, like years ago. Like that's where my middle name comes from, Edward. But a car he didn't drown, but a car ran over him or something like that. And anyway, it's just funny. My dad can't swim. I'm talking about drowning pool. My mom is the manager at the swimming pool in this small town of 1,000 people. My mom's been the manager every summer for the last, I don't even know, a long time. And what's even more interesting is I pretty much lived at that pool when I was a kid. Like, I even grew up to become a lifeguard, and I was a lifeguard there from the age of like 16 to 26. Every summer, I was a lifeguard there. When I moved to Arizona, I had a job as a lifeguard at the YMCA, and an interesting thing about that is some of the kids that I worked with, this one kid was really into astrology and whatnot, and he was asking everybody their birthdays, all of the lifeguards and whatnot. And every lifeguard that worked there had a water sign, and we all were lifeguards. So just interesting. My dad can't swim. And then I'm talking about drowning pool. On Friday, on July 20th, in a couple days here, I'm actually got asked to DJ a pool party. They're going to have a nighttime pool party. And just the other day I got on Amazon and I bought a bunch of glow sticks that I'm going to sell for really cheap, just to hopefully, whatever, make it more fun, like a bunch of kids can wear glow sticks and all that. So, I don't know. I really hope that no kid drowns at the swimming pool on Friday. I don't want to put any bad energy into it or whatever, but, you have to be thinking that after seeing all these things in regards to drowning pools and whatnot. And, my dad can't swim. My mom's the manager of the pool. And now in 2 days, I'm going to be DJing there for a nighttime pool party. And it just trust me, this gets crazier yet. So I'll I'll talk about it in a second because while I was making this blog post, somebody just randomly comments on an old video from June 29th. I put this video out June 29th of 2017. while I was writing up this blog post talking about the swimming pool stuff, this person comments, I have no idea what the hell you're insinuating, but I am sure it's a load of bullshit, you know? Look what the title of the video is. Ridiculousness, Stilo Brim's nephew dies in a pool. And it was in the mainstream media on 6/28/17. So I get a comment on a video about a kid drowning in a pool that I made a video of from over a year ago. Why now? Why all of a sudden is this person commenting that on this video about drowning in a pool, you know? Just after I mean, there's no way they even watched my video, the one I just uploaded. There's absolutely no way they would even have watched that video to know that I have recently been talking about this. So it's either somebody who follows my blog, you know, or it's just random synchronicity. But there's no way I'm not supposed to see that regardless, you know? No way. I'm writing about drowning in a pool, but somebody leaves a comment on this old video that only has 6 comments talking about somebody who drowned in a pool. And I'll come back to that in a second, but in regards to bridge symbolism, if I'll try to find the link to the video and I'll leave it in the description, but I made a video about, you know, all year I've been talking about bridge symbolism and tons of stuff with bridges and bridge collapses and how it was synced up to the Super Bowl. I can't remember if I talked about it in the beginning. I know I talked about all the 81 stuff in the beginning, I believe. And that's why it was important to the Super Bowl. And then after the Super Bowl, I kept seeing stuff, you know, all of this bridge symbolism. The Super Bowl was also connected to the kneeling during the national anthem that I said was connected to Charles Manson. And then Charles Manson died a month after me bringing that back up about how it was connected to his helter-skelter theory about blacks rising up. Then Charles Manson dies. But anyway, Francis Scott Key, the guy who wrote the national anthem, his birthday, August 1st, 8/1. You know, so it's all interrelated, and bridge symbolism is really important. But we got that Miami bridge collapse on March 15th. And what's interesting about that is that on March 6th, I had a dream about my dad dying, and my Uncle Clancy was there completely healthy. And then my Uncle Clancy ends up dying on April 17th or whatever. And I mean, he had a collapsed lung and all of that, so it's not that surprising that he would die. But interesting, he's healthy in that dream. I had this dream about my dad dying on March 6th, which was 9 days before the bridge actually collapsed. And after that bridge had collapsed, I watched this Enter the Stars video about how he said something about he predicted the bridge collapse, but really he's talking about a building collapse. But he said the only time he's ever had a vision like that was when he had a dream, I think it was like a month before his dad died, and then his dad died a month later. And, you know, think about that. I had this dream about my dad. I'll find a link to that video. I can't remember all of it. I even need to go back and review it, but you know, just interesting. So I'm wondering, there's all this bridge symbolism. I'm wondering if there's something really important to bridges coming up maybe 9 days from now. Or, you know, last time I had that dream 9 days before. So maybe in 9 days, there's something really significant to bridges. Maybe there'll be another bridge collapse, or, you know, possibly there's going to be another drowning story, or maybe something in this area. You know, and I never even put it together in the last video. I talked about how my grandma was synced up to the Eagles winning the Super Bowl, and my uncle who just died was synced up to the Eagles, and my sister was also synced up to that, and they had the Super Bowl commercial in her town, and she owns the company called Eagle Acres, and then some girl in her town actually drowned. I never even put that together before. She drowned in like it's not really a river. It's kind of like where well, what's interesting is that the spot where she drowned, there's a big bridge that you can walk across, and then like there's some rocks down or whatever, and she fell in, and it had a bunch of foam or whatever, so when she fell in, nobody could find her and whatnot. So, It's interesting there's even a bridge that was connected to that story, but she drowned, right? She didn't drown in a pool, she drowned like a river type thing. Can't remember what it was actually called. Something Sioux in Sioux Falls, Iowa, I believe. So just she drowned. Losing my train of thought here, but anyway, I'm just saying maybe there's something really significant to all of that. And in regards to 9 days, it was actually 7/18, July 18th, when this I originally started this blog post and I was uploading that video. And 9 days after that is actually July 27th, which is the anniversary of the end of the Korean War. And that's synced up to the Jesuits like crazy. Even Kim Jong-un became the new leader when his dad died on Pope Francis's birthday, and a bunch of other stuff. He's synced up. I can't even remember it all. The 7/5 birthday that they gave him was like 84 days for the Jesuit anniversary, and his I don't remember it. 3 months and 12 days after the Jesuit anniversary is Kim Jong Un's real birthday, January 8th, which can be like an 81 connected to the bridge symbolism. And they even said bridging the gap when he met with the South Korean president named Moon Jae-in and a bunch more. But it was 3 months, 21, 3 months, 12 days, which is a big number. I talked about the word Pope equals 312. Pope Francis's real name, Jorge Mario Bergoglio, equals 312. And it's the 477th anniversary of the Jesuits. 477 equals 312. Francis Xavier made a saint on 312, and a whole bunch of stuff. And the reason I bring that up is, you know, 9 days after this happens, we are getting an eclipse. An eclipse equals 192, like my dad, like my son, like my mom. And that partial eclipse begins at 6:24 p.m. You know? And the word Pope also equals 192. It's satanic. So, I don't know. Seems like a very significant day. At least into whatever. Some type of whatever it's showing me. Maybe there's going to be just a big a story or some weird synchronicity that happens to be that day, or whatever. Something I'm supposed to see. Maybe I won't even figure it out until September. I don't know. But we'll find. I guarantee there's going to be something probably connected to that day. So also, I just talk. I don't know my grandpa. My grandpa's um he had cancer a while back, and they went in and removed it, and they're like nobody's really told me a whole lot about it. But uh I guess it must have came back or something. And last time I saw him, he didn't seem like he was even. He's old, he can't hear and whatever else, but he doesn't seem to be really sick. And my dad was just recently in Seattle, which is for my cousin's graduation. She just graduated high school, and a bunch of my dad and some of his brothers and sisters and my grandpa and grandma and whatever went. And my grandpa delayed some chemo treatment, I believe it was, or maybe radiation or something. He delayed it because he was like, "Screw that! I don't care. I'll just do it when I come back." So I was thinking, if it's interesting that he's my dad's father, and if anyone to die next, it seemingly would be him. But uh, I don't know enough about him. Honestly, I don't know his birthday and I don't know his full name. So I know his nickname. His nickname's Grizz, but I don't know his full name. It's Donald. I couldn't tell you what his middle name is. So, and I know his birthday's in May too. I just don't know what day it is for sure. I feel like it's like May 12th, but my grandma Murphy's is May 19th, and I know that his birthday's really close to hers, and I think he's like 1 year apart of her. I think he's 84 years old. He could be 85 or 83, but interesting if he did just turn 84, like Jesuit and whatnot. So Seattle's in the 206 area code. The Chicago Cubs equal 206. Something I talked about a lot with the 9/11 symbolism. and the Yankees upsetting the Mariners just after 9/11, all by the numbers. But the Mariners was a big time upset because they had 116 regular season wins, which tied a record with the Chicago Cubs' old record of 116 regular season wins. And they're from the 206 area code. Chicago Cubs equal 206. So seems it's super fitting. Something really important to Seattle this year. Maybe they possibly could be in the World Series. The Eagle landing on the Paxton guy and all kinds of stuff. But I feel like it's just something that's using Seattle, and they're not actually going to be in the World Series. Could be wrong. So anyway, as I was writing this up, like I said, somebody randomly comments on this video about Stilo Brim's nephew drowning in a pool. And if you go listen to this video, within the first minute of the video, I talk about how I made a video of the gorilla breaking the glass at the Henry Dorley Zoo in Omaha because I saw a clip of it on the TV show Ridiculousness that, he's on. And what's funny about it is tomorrow we're going to the Henry Dorley Zoo. We've been talking about it for over a week. It's my first day off in a long time, and we're going to go to the zoo tomorrow. And it's just funny that, in the first minute of that video, I talk about the Henry Dorley Zoo. And later on in that video, I talk about the father symbolism. Last year, I was talking a lot about father symbolism in regards to the Jesuits and priests. And that's why we got the Fitzgerald, USS Fitzgerald story, because the priest who got busted for child molesting that used to be the priest here, and it's been an inside joke that he molested me for years, because I had like a private meeting at his house and whatever else. His name was Father Fitzgerald, and I have a whole playlist on that as well. There was this bunch of father symbolism that I kept documenting, and the same day I was making that video, we had a story of Cardinal George Pell being a child molester and whatnot. And I talked about that later on in the video. But anyway, let's just move on. You get the picture, the father symbolism. You have to go back and watch some of my old videos from last summer. Just talked a lot about the father symbolism. It is interesting because I did talk a lot about the New York Yankees in regards to the father symbolism as well. So the Yankees and the Cubs were what I originally had thought in the beginning of this year were going to be in the World Series because of a bunch of different stuff. But we also had the death of Ray Nareth, the 106-year-old bartender at the Gold Slipper from this town, and he died 114 days after his birthday. And the same day that he died, the New York Yankees played the Rays. And the next day, the Yankees won or lost 11-4, a lot like 114, And then Ray, he was a Yankees fan, by the way. Yet Ray died 114 days after his birthday. A big Yankees fan. But he also died in the same room as my mom's cousin, Tom Murphy, at the nursing home that my girlfriend just got a job at, which I wonder what room it was. I don't know the room, but Tom Murphy had died, and then they moved Ray. He was barely sick. He was just old, barely sick, and then they put him in Tom Murphy's room, and then he died. But Murphy is the name of the goat that cursed the Cubs and whatnot. So possibly it is going to still be the Yankees and the Cubs in the World Series, but there's a lot of Indian stuff that's going on with it. So another thing I guess I didn't mention it, but the Stilo Brim, his real name Sterling, that equals 624. And his name just reminds me of Steelers, like Pittsburgh Steelers. We even just had the death of one of the Pittsburgh Steeler guys. I haven't had time to look into it yet, but I saw that on Yahoo. One of the ex-Steeler died, and Pittsburgh is the city of bridges, right? So Sterling Silver. What's even weirder is that when I was a lifeguard, I specifically remember saving 3 kids like when I worked there. And it was 3 different summers, but I mean, I might have saved more, but I have vivid memories of saving 3 kids. One of them was on the 4th of July, and I was just getting ready to leave the swimming pool because you only had to go and work so many hours. And I had my shoes and all my clothes on. Thankfully, it was before the time of, cell phones and whatnot. So whatever the reason, I saw this kid struggling really bad, and I had my shoes and everything on, and I jumped in and saved this kid on the 4th of July and whatnot. And the most messed up thing is that this kid, I remember his dad, he used to work at the sale barn down here, and he had long, like, strawberry blonde hair, and he's a real short guy with freckles and whatever, and they called him Moses. I think his last name was Malone. Like, I don't know if that's part of the joke. I know they called him Moses, and I remember this guy, like, to a T, and that was his dad, this kid I saved. Haven't seen this guy in years, and yesterday at the gas station, he came in and got something, and another lady that was there, she was like, "Is that that Malone guy that used to work at the sale barn?" And I was like, "Yeah, I'm positive. You won't forget that guy. It's like he's just an easy guy to remember what he looks like." And yeah, so that lady, I don't even know. It was even like put emphasis on that guy. He's the father of some kid I saved from drowning at the pool. And another kid that I saved, it was at a pool party at nighttime, and I remember a bunch of people were doing like, I probably, shouldn't be letting them do that, but some older kids were doing like flips with the plastic chairs off the diving board and whatnot, and this little kid had jumped in for whatever the reason, he jumped in the deep end, and I had to jump out of the chair and save him. And the kid was like in love with me ever since, like the rest of the summer, and his mom told me how much he loved me and was so happy that I saved him and whatever else. And what's interesting about that is that on January or February 20th this year, his dad died. And his dad wasn't really that old. He just randomly must have had I don't know what exactly he died from, but he had a heart attack or something, and they found him in his car 10 miles away and at the school in the parking lot or something like that. But what's interesting about that is his dad was the guy who delivered the Omaha World Herald to a bunch of places around here, even the store that I work at. And he used to come in to get his paycheck there. And the reason that's important is because the Omaha World Herald was originally the the guy who owned the Omaha World Herald was Henry Dorley, that's who it was originally owned by. Henry Dorley, the guy that the zoo is named after, Henry Dorley. So, I mean, it's just strange to me. And Warren Buffett now owns the Omaha World Herald. And Warren Buffett's a guy I've been watching all year because he's going to be 88 years old this year, and it's in the 88th anniversary of the stock market crash. So it seemingly would be a good time for him to, you know, disappear. And I just saw a story the other day about him donating a whole bunch of his money away. I mean, he has, Forrest Gump puts he's a gobzillionaire or whatever, but still, it's just interesting. He seems fitting that he would die at the age of 88, but, I don't know. Just seems fitting. He'll be 88, and it's the 88th anniversary of the stock market crash. The other kid that I remember saving at the swimming pool, it was also at a pool party, and he didn't know how to swim, but he was a little bit older, and all of his friends knew how to swim. So he thought, like, his friends kind of talked him into jumping off the diving board, and he didn't know how to swim. And I didn't know he didn't know how to swim, so he jumped off the diving board, and then he couldn't swim. So I had to jump in and save him, and whatever, I saved him. And what's interesting about that is the last, like, 2 days, I've also saw his dad at the gas station. Sorry. And I barely ever see his dad. I don't really know his dad that well. And the other day, he even did some kind of weird thing where he came in and said, "Charge that gas to me," and then he, like, walked away, and you're supposed to sign these papers when you charge the gas. So I was like, why would he do that? Like if you have a charge account, you would know what's going on, and it's just strange. Like it was something memorable. And then I saw him this morning. He came in and again, so I haven't seen him in forever. But the kid I saved, his name equals 114, Shane Ehlers. And my girlfriend just started this new job last week up at the nursing home, and the girl that's training her is his older sister. So just, weird. Three kids that I saved, and they're all synced up, like just weird. Have synchronicity. I've seen that the one kid's dad, just like haven't seen him in years, and he's randomly at the store. So, just wanted to make this video. I I got like 10,000 things I want to do, and I cannot keep up because I have so much synchronicity going on. I can't keep up with the media articles even. I can't. Tried to listen to the gematria effect earlier. I missed like a good probably 2 hours of that. When I was trying to do I saw Young Decoder. I wanted to go to this, but I didn't realize that I had to click this phone thing to join in. So I've been sitting there. I sat there for like an hour waiting for him to come on, not realizing that it was my error that I didn't even go on there. And so I was writing this blog post while I was waiting, and then I had all this crazy things happen to me. So just wanted to document it because it's just too weird not to document, and trying to figure it out. And I want to document it in case, something else comes of it and it will make more sense. And it's sometimes it's easier when I put it into words and listen to what I'm saying versus just read what I have on my blog as well. So we'll leave it at that. Hopefully nobody dies in the pool. Hopefully nobody dies like at the zoo, falling in the water or something weird tomorrow, I don't know. Don't want anybody to die. But I don't know. Just seems weird. There's some weird synchronicity going on. And whenever this happens, there's always something that comes up that is connected to it. So, I don't know. Have a good one. Peace.